Hey, what's up? This is your girl, Taylor Wilde. Welcome back to Wilde On Season 5, the podcast where you get the insider's view of the weird, wild world of wrestling and witchcraft. On Wednesdays, today's guest is from the undead realm of the shadow, veteran to the ring and daughter to none other than Satan. She currently resides in the meat suit of former professional wrestling sensation and sister Canadian Courtney Rush. Rest in peace. She is arguably the most controlling member of Impact Wrestling knockout faction, the Death Dolls. The Death Dolls are a faction that I feel aligned, potentially even allied. Because you see, as a witch, I channel through spirit, whereas the Death Dolls live on the other side with spirit, and they have to teleport back and forth between Western civilization and the spirit world just to be at Impact Wrestling. And ladies and gentlemen, my dear demon, Rosemary.
Taylor, you get all your signals from the spirits of the dark realm. We were spawned in the dark realm, and trust us, whatever message you're getting, we got it first.
Thank you, Rosemary, for taking the time to do my podcast.
Oh, darling, the pleasure is, of course, all yours.
So we've been having, we've been able to spend some time together for the first time on Impact
Yes, we meant to
Television.
ask you, have you reconsidered your hasty little decision to come up against the Death Dolls?
Well, we're just gonna leave it for the Impact viewers to see for themselves. I don't want to give it away. This could air after. So So what does Rosemary do these days to prepare for matches?
These particular days, when there's as the time gets closer and closer to the match time, obviously we pull ourselves away, try to focus, commune with the shadow, learn tactics, any sort of details that we've missed, anything that the shadow has picked up on that might be crucial in battle, of course. It sees all and knows all. So, and we would never attack to know everything the shadow does. But there is always tricky parts to this. As you know, there are multiple timelines, infinite possible timelines, infinite possible ways of certain things to go. So you have to pick up on the reads of things, of which way things are going. What can we manipulate to make sure the timeline that we want to manifest happens into this timeline prime, if you will. Yes, it's a lot of contemplating. It's a lot of meditating. It's a lot of centering yourself.
Now, would you say you're the ringleader when it comes to the Death Dolls in terms of manifestation, keeping everybody grounded, aligning them with the shadow?
In terms of control, yes. Trying to maintain harmony and keeping everyone on the same page, it would probably have to be us, because Jessica is such a force of chaos.
Sure.
It's almost impossible to control, but that's wonderful. It's a wonderful fact of life. Obviously, certainly you're aware that chaos is life. Stagnancy is death.
100%.
Therefore, she brings so much life into the Death Dolls that we tend to shy away from life. But it's almost been good for us to see this creature that was bound in the light that we've shunned for so long. We didn't think anything good could come out of that little pocket of the undead realm, but here we are. We have Jessica, this wonderful agent of chaos, and the Valkyrie, who's turned into such a delightful little warrior, embracing the darkness that we never thought she would. And after all, she did try to kill Johnny Bravo, so there's something there.
That's true. There was always that secret darkness. It was just covered up. And
just had to draw it out.
I have to say, though, Jessica has been a breath of fresh air for the death dolls. Like you say, you're one with the darkness, the shadow, but she really is the dichotomy of there is no darkness without light. So would you say that her personality change was a bigger benefit to the death dolls?
Yes, of course, absolutely. In the way this went, again, dealing with potential timelines, it could have gone absolutely disastrous, and that's why we were so hands-on and so tentative about it before, trying to make sure she was molded in the right direction. Because coming from the light, and obviously, as you know, look, we've given up trying to have her remember Havoc. It's obviously not going to happen. We're not sure if she's a doppelganger or if Havoc is trapped within the psyche. There's just no point. It tears her apart. And there's not a good warrior if you're questioning yourself. So it's easier right now to let Jessica be Jessica and try to find out and let the time come as it will. There's only so long. Like, Havoc is not disappeared. Havoc's not gone. We would have known. We would have been able to sense the absence of her entity. She's somewhere. We just don't know where. And until she reveals herself, there's no sense in stressing Jessica, because the harmony between the three of us, the power of 3x3, has come together so well. Why would we want to mess with that when things are going so well?
I agree. And she is the wild card in the best possible way. Now, what about physicality? So I know very much what you do mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Could we ever find Rosemary at, say, a Planet Fitness?
Ooh, is that a social?
A social club with heavy weighted things that you pick up and you put down. And a lot of wrestlers, they frequent these places.
Interesting. You don't train in hand-to-hand combat with skilled warriors out on the battlefield?
Like
no,
CrossFit?
Like jousting, sword fighting.
Oh, is that what you do?
We're in the Shadows Army.
I forget. I don't know. As a witch, I'm between worlds. I'm on this plane all the time, and I have to work really hard to toe the line between this side of the realm and your realm. How is it that you just were you ever one of this world? Like, do you know? Have you always been on this side? Like, enlighten the Wilde On listeners.
It's interesting because the two of us, Taylor, are almost polar opposites. We are our shadow spawned demon, created in the undead realm, and we have latched ourselves to this human, wearing her meat suit and learning this realm through her and through her eyes and through her experiences. And you are an earthbound human who has now attached itself to a dark spirit and are learning our world and our ways through siphoning energy through that way. Now, a word of warning, it is a lot safer the route we're going. We're certain that you know that creatures from our world do love doing deals and do love hiding the fine print and can't always be trusted, but we're certain you've warded yourself against any betrayal of the spirit that you commune with. If you haven't, you might want to.
Yes. Oh, yes. I am a sensitive being. I've been a sensitive being since I was born. As you know, you're born into these things or unborn into them. I sage, I wear my protective stones every day because
we do like to play.
You are strong and you're sneaky. This is the thing people don't know. It's when you least expect it. That's when you attract your shadow into your life.
We can't manifest into the human world without a ride. Per se. This is we are using Courtney's meat suit for this, and the spirit is using your mental link, psychic link.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, you're right. I like this. I don't think our listeners knew this side, so that's good. Now, you say you do obviously use Courtney's meat suit. Would you say that you're aligned with her birth chart, her birth date, her horoscope? Is this something that interests you?
It's very possible. We've inhabited several human meat suits over the centuries. This is the first one we've actually felt bonded with, that we could stay with, and certainly the longest one we've stayed with. Certainly the longest one that stayed alive. Your meat suits are fragile.
I was gonna say, would you say you're hard on meat suits, generally speaking?
Yes, we run through them quite a bit. A blade can take care of this. Our spirit will escape and go to somewhere else. But goodness, you're fragile.
We are fragile. I will say that. Especially towing the line, I can see the fragility more and more, and how simple people on this side of the realm can be.
Absolutely. And if the bond is not there, the meat suit could deteriorate just by housing a demon soul.
Really?
And it's fascinating that Courtney's hasn't. We've really taken to her. Must be the Sagittarian.
The Sagittarian. Yes. Do you know much about your Libra moon?
No, we don't.
Ah, okay. Okay. So
The Earth star signs are much more different than where we're from.
that's true, actually. So, as far as I'm aware, from what I know about Courtney's birth date, is that she is a Sagittarius sun and a Libra moon. And your sun is how a human would appear basically to the masses, where your moon would be how you appear to relationships. So, Libra is actually how you would appear probably to the death dolls.
Interesting. And that's the scales, is it?
Yes.
Yes. So it would explain why we've weighed our paths so carefully and made sure every step was weighed and measured before we went forward with Jessica and the Valkyrie.
This makes sense. This makes sense. So how is Rosemary inspired day to day by makeup? Or do you wake up like this? Are you Beyonce?
Well, wake up is relative. We don't necessarily sleep. We go into a stasis.
Ah, okay.
But the shadow tells us what's coming. The shadow gives us the signs of what to look for. And then that manifests the battle paint or the war paint.
Okay.
Of what we want to express over the past, 7 Earth years?
Yeah.
That we've inhabited Courtney's body. Several different paths have opened. Mm-hmm. And our face, the paint that we portray has morphed over time, has changed, has generated, into different. So now it's sort of expressing an almost tiger, predatory, underneath the obvious, delicate details of the spider. Two great hunters in two different ways, one with pure force and rage and one with calculating precision.
I don't even know where to go from there. Okay, let's change gears a little bit, because I want to talk about what Impact Wrestling is doing and how it's so different than specifically the Knockouts, so different than any major television show today, because I want to speak specifically on the alternative girls. Mm-hmm. And I would say that would be the Death Dolls, that would be the Killer Kellys, the Taylor Wildes. Forgive me if I miss anybody, but we are what you would refer to as your quintessential baby faces or tweeters. The strange and unusual. And in any other major company, we would be heels. How does Rosemary and the Death Dolls feel about being baby faces and being alternative, quintessential weird girls?
Personally, we've never considered ourselves to be evil. And that is obviously a human concept of good and evil. And your morality is something that you've created.
That's true.
We don't attest to these. It doesn't affect us. But we've never expressed ourselves as evil, more of just on a mission, given this order, following orders. Even when we were trying to procure the young Hardy child, that was for a prophecy. That child is going to be something incredibly powerful. We wanted it to be raised in the service of the shadow, but hopefully the broken wizard Matt Hardy can take care of him. But we've never considered ourselves evil. And even before our time here, this is one of the reasons we chose Impact as our home field of battle, was because there was such already a strong presence and pull that the shadow had established there with people like Roxy Laveau, the Voodoo Queen, Daphne. There's been darkness here already. And then it felt very natural to come here and felt like we would be accepted and the shadow's message would be heard in Impact. And it feels like you And Kelly and certain other characters have felt the shadow's call as well.
It's true. The shadow, then, I would say, is probably the OG to the Knockouts locker room.
Yes, probably. She's an overwhelming force.
And would you say she's, because we refer to her as she, as you and I would, but would you say she's feminine?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. And it's interesting too, because in certain ways that people wouldn't expect. So we find that a lot of you humans consider feminine traits to be warmth and kindness, but the shadow doesn't exude those. The shadow is cold, solitary.
Mm-hmm.
But the shadow is also comforting in that it tells you what you need to know. It communes with you if you are willing to listen. And the coldness, from what we've come to learn through all of our existence, is so much more honest than warmth and light. Darkness and coldness is true and pure and will not lie to you. It doesn't give you this false security blanket around you. It doesn't shine light on what it wants you to see.
Right.
Consider with a spotlight. It will ignore everything around it and only show you what you're supposed to be looking at. Whereas when everything is bathed in darkness, everything is the same. Ooh. Everything is equal, everything is pure, and everything is true. And you see everything as it is.
Spiritual chills. Okay, so I just want to just sprinkle a little bit of attention. People loved our cackle off. And, you know, I don't think people understand that even though you are just renting, leasing, inhabiting, what would we say? But what would you say when you have a meat suit? What is it like? I guess you didn't buy it. You just
sharing, inhabiting.
Sharing, yeah. Evil takes the laughing up a notch, don't you think?
We've always been a very jovial character. Everyone thinks we're so serious, but there is humor in everything.
I'd say we have the most fun.
Absolutely. And you know, it's so refreshing that when we find such joy at the anticipation of going into battle. And that is why we laugh. That is why we get excited. And to have you feel that same excitement about the anticipation of facing the death dolls. And then we just fed off of that. And then Kelly fed off of that. And then it was just wonderful. And then you know what? We just can't wait to go to war with you.
100%. And I think Kelly was actually having a little bit of a out-of-body experience because she's someone who doesn't show emotion at all. So I feel like the darkness, spirit, witchcraft, they were all doing their thing.
It was all aligned that night.
Now, have you been practicing any witchcraft in recent time, or is it all kind of wrapped up in, it's not practicing, it's just your daily routines?
It's difficult to explain because witchcraft is earthbound based and is used to access our world. And this is something that we're not wonderful with, we will admit. Even through the centuries that we have inhabited several human meat suits, we really have neglected our studies in learning about your species.
That's fair.
Is it?
Well, I mean, you've been busy, like.
Yes, but it is a bit arrogant of us, we will admit, thinking that our ways are superior and we didn't need to know your ways. But now we're presented right here with a witch in front of us, and you can see things that even though we're getting the message, you're seeing details that we haven't got because they are originating from this realm. Perhaps it is time for a refresher course.
I was going to say, I see only benefits in having an ally in this because, like you said, it's like when you grow up having a swimming pool, you're like, ugh, I don't care about it. But then you always want to go swimming if you don't have a pool. So it's a bit like you're taking advantage of all the information you have. And maybe you just need a witch on your side.
Exactly. See, little witch, you understand. And also, again, like we said before, our species are all about making deals. So if you wanted to little power boost in exchange for some information.
You know what? I'm gonna keep it in my pocket because 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I'm listening. I'm always listening.
Wilde On Rosemary.
Looking, oh! Taylor Wilde wanted a little bit of silence to dish out that punishment.
Two women who've been critical to the development of the knockouts division. Oh, both women thinking the same thing and go down.
We talked about the two former champions. Great minds truly do think alike.
Let's do my top 10 tailor-made questions. I think you're going to like this first question. Just because you've been through so many different meat suits, I feel like you're going to have a stellar answer.
Is this speed round? Are we allowed to think?
You're allowed to think. It's not a speed round. It's I want to get all the juicy answers. So, what is your funeral song and what does your ceremony look like?
A funeral song for this meat suit or for us?
Oh, I would say I'd say for this meat suit.
For this meat suit.
Yeah,
All right, because that is something we can honestly say we've never thought about. As an immortal demon spirit, we've never thought about dying. There must be a way to die.
Oh, that's a good question too. Do you mourn your meat suits, or is it just like in order to get new clothes, you got to throw away the old ones?
Not thus far, because they've all served their purpose into the battle that we're going into. When they perished, it was good job. But this one we think we would mourn. We've gotten quite attached to Courtney, even to the extent that we let her out to play a little every now and then. We're not always in the driver's seat.
Well, that's so kind of you. Look at you emotionally maturing.
We are magnanimous, are we not?
I'm very proud of you. That isn't easy to do for a demon.
For the funeral, if we had to finally say goodbye to Courtney.
Yes.
We'll say My Way by Frank Sinatra.
Wow. You were just oozing with emotions today. I'm so impressed.
It covers all the bases.
True. And visually, could you see a ceremony like just outside of your normal Catholic Christian ceremony? Like when I think about myself, I would like a Viking funeral. I'd like to be put on a raft, covered in beautiful flowers, arrow, flaming, see you later, back to the earth and one with the universe.
Oh, we do like that. And the flames are so purifying. And it would probably be best to burn her body just in case something else decided to inhabit it after it was gone.
That's true. Sloppy seconds.
Yes.
Or thirds.
There are other ways to take her back to nature, and we might seal her inside a tree.
Oh. That's very green.
And then it continues the cycle of life, whereas the tree continues to donate oxygen and life into the earth realm and continues to feed the rest of the species, and therefore she'll still be useful even after we're done with her.
I like that. I think that's very eco-friendly of you. You've learned a lot this round on Earth, I guess with recycling and all. So I know this doesn't exactly apply to Rosemary, more so to Courtney, but if you could create your own zodiac sign, and you could pick 3 human traits that would make up the perfect zodiac sign, what would it be?
Oh, interesting. Well, we could apply this to our world because in the Shadow Realm, we were spawned as the Draconian star was rising.
Oh, okay.
So perhaps a dragon zodiac.
Ooh, do you know any traits of the dragon zodiac? Because I don't.
Yeah, well, the dragon is wise. For one, so a tendency towards wisdom, also very territorial.
Obviously,
yes. Don't touch their treasure. Just can't do it.
So wise, territorial,
and dragon's weakness, because you have to be balanced. Yes,
you can be if you want, but dragons, they're pretty badass.
Selfish.
Oh, selfish. So that could be.
And the god complex. Well, that would explain why we really haven't done our homework about humans.
That makes sense, actually. Have the Death Dolls or Rosemary ever, and you don't have to answer this because it might be a little bit controversial. Have you ever visited the Satanic Temple?
No, we haven't. They're so itchy about it.
Fair. I just went to Salem about a month ago, and when in Rome or Salem,
Yes.
you go to the Satanic Temple, and it is like Fort Knox, because I guess they've had a lot of issues with people wanting to burn the place down. And, but that's kind of the basis of Satanism, is it's not actually worshiping the devil.
No, Father is a very tricky creature.
How is your dad doing, by the way? I'm so rude of me to ask. I went to his house and...
He is frustrating. Do you know how long he's been on that throne? It's our time.
I mean, you saw what the Queen did, right?
Someone else a chance. He's worried we'd run it better.
He has been at the job a long time. He is all job. What would he do? What would you do
at this point?
True.
And with all the propaganda machine that goes and all the praise that goes on the light side, and he's
right.
He pays attention to the haters just a little too much, and it gets to him.
Is he on Twitter?
Oh no.
Too progressive.
That's even too much of a hellscape for him.
I just think there's so much evil on Twitter these days. It would be a place he felt welcome.
No, it feels so fabricated to him.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's all words, empty words.
True, and anyone can get verified these days.
Yes,
so
exactly.
So I ask all the normies what their supernatural power is, and it's more like the ability to read people or maybe see shadow people. Now, being undead and not being a normie, what is Rosemary's greatest, I guess, just power, not supernatural?
Well, the one that tends to amaze you humans so much more is the teleportation. It's such an easy trick. Well, it is draining, especially the more people you have to take with you. But it always gets a good reaction.
It is a wonderful skill.
It's so much easier than normal travel. How do you stand walking everywhere? Especially when you have a finite amount of time on this earth.
For me, I'd say it's just because I'm a bit of, I was going to say misogynist. That's not right at all. Masochist. I would pretty much say we are the opposite of misogynist, because I am a witch and you are the undead version of a witch. Catch us if you can.
Good luck.
Now, I notice Valkyrie has a little bit of issue with the teleportation. Is that something like seasickness that she can treat or exercise, or?
Seasickness is likely the easiest way to explain it, to the temporal dissonance of folding time and space. Does tend to make those with a light stomach a little queasy. It's very jarring. She will get used to it if she stops bitching about it.
Yeah, that's half of it, right? Mind over matter.
Gravel.
Little ginger.
Yes. Take a supplement about it.
Yeah, right? Where?
We're not walking.
Yeah.
What is this? Lord of the Rings.
No misogynistic walking for Valkyrie.
Think if Frodo could have teleported to Mordor.
Oh, so much would have gotten.
And yes, we have watched human pop culture.
Okay, again, something I asked the normies, but you might actually have a riveting answer, is do you believe in ghosts? And if you do you have a ghost story?
Oh, ghosts, of course, absolutely. All the manifestations of the spirits of the past that haven't taken the plunge.
For sure.
Their eternity in the undead realm, those who are still clinging to the light, refusing to let go.
Exactly.
Holding on to the lies. The light says that if they let go, they'll be gone. It's not. You just move on to the next realm, the next plane of existence. But
right.
Some can't accept that. So absolutely, there are still the energies and the manifestations of spirits in this realm. Quite frankly, we know there are a lot of ghost hunters. It's a lot of interest in humans to try and communicate with these ghosts. It is very dangerous to do so, because obviously they aren't thinking straight. They're being lured and clung to these last little shreds that don't belong in this world anymore. It's best to encourage them to move on. Also, they are a power source for the undead realm, so we would appreciate having their full manifestation.
So have you had the ability to help somebody, just like tap them on the bum over the other side or kick them in the pants?
Ghosts? Oh, well, that's not really our jurisdiction. There are catchers who go out and bring them back in. The only one we really had experience with was watching the bunny's spirit. Buddy, don't.
By those big old golden demon. It's okay. It's okay. I'm whole again.
Yes. Which was obviously a very difficult moment for us. We've never experienced death in such a way that it affected us emotionally. As we said, we've run through several meat suits, but we were never emotionally attached to them, nor any humans that came before. It's not until this go this go in the human realm that we've really started to feel emotional attachment to certain humans. And that's probably Courtney's fault. She's a particularly emotional being.
I was going to say that sounds very Sagittarius.
Yes, it does bleed through.
So speaking about Courtney and wrestling, we'll tap into a little bit of wrestling. The question used to be, what was the most embarrassing moment in the ring for Rosemary? But it tends to be nip slip, incontinence, wardrobe malfunction. Has any of that sort of human embarrassment happened to Rosemary while wrestling?
Oh, we're certain it must have. So that would have required shame. Which we weren't familiar with at first. Again, that has bled through. We realize we're not supposed to have these accidental exposure moments. Although, really, honestly, fighting naked would be so much more efficient.
You think?
How many times have you been grabbed and throttled with your own clothing?
Well, true. But I just feel like professional wrestling is a sport you really don't want to see done naked. There's a lot of well, it's just aggressive, isn't it?
Yes, it is true. Perhaps we're thinking more along the lines of
practicality.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, though, for a lot of, well, no, period, it wouldn't be very aerodynamic.
Yes, exactly. Especially if we're oiled up. How are they supposed to hang on to you? It's embarrassing things that have happened. Well, certainly those moments where carefully planned tactics go wrong. There were a couple of instances where we had a poison mist ready and accidentally hit an ally or someone else with it, and it's so frustrating when when you have everything particularly planned out and then everything goes wrong in that one moment, especially when it causes defeat.
Sure. So it's not so much shame as it is anger?
Failure.
Thank you.
Hatred of failure.
So speaking about failures, does Rosemary have a pet peeve when it comes to professional wrestling?
Well, actually, this goes back to the question much earlier about preparation for battle. And then we were saying that we do need the time to draw into ourselves and to revel in the silence and only in our own company. And it is very, very difficult, we find, because there are so many involved in the production of a professional wrestling show.
Mm-hmm.
That unlike going onto a battlefield, unlike in war where we can take that moment to ourselves, it's very, very difficult to find somewhere to be ourselves just for a moment, to center ourselves, because there are cameras everywhere. There are people wanting interviews. Valkyrie and Jessica are constantly making noise, and there's that is the one thing, which is just to find that moment, that solitary place where we can just bring it all together. We always find it, but that is the pet peeve of being able to find that spot just for a moment.
As someone with such a jovial and voluminous voice, if you will, silence is not something that I would peg you for. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. You need the ability to go inward before you can go outward, I guess.
Yes, it's clean, it's pure, it's cleansing, it refreshes you, and now you're ready to go with nothing else held inside you but the thoughts of the battle in front of you.
Have you ever thought of noise-canceling headphones?
Oh, we don't like what they do with our hair.
Oh. Needs. We gotta worry about the needs first.
Exactly.
What is Rosemary or Courtney's favorite band or artist?
So, okay. This is one thing we have been trying to study, and we do think the absolute best gift humans have contributed to existence is music. And there's so much variety in music in the earth realm. It's not like where we're from.
Okay.
Mostly war drums.
Not relaxing.
Not really.
Yeah.
That's why we prefer the silence. But music, yes, in this realm, there's just so many different genres and so many different varieties that we find that when it mixes with the emotions that we do siphon from Courtney, that there are certain times where you crave this type of music or this type of music or this type of music. Would you agree?
I would completely agree.
Earlier, we said that we would give Courtney a Frank Sinatra song for her send-off.
Yes.
Whereas there is a lot of like louder music that we do enjoy when trying to envision the battle itself.
Okay.
The death metal music. And then in the calming moments, in the times where perhaps silence is impossible, but something almost as good is classical music.
Oh, I love classical music. And it's timeless.
Absolutely. Fun to exist through all those times and seeing the different genres created as they go.
Ah, yes. You would be an excellent contender on a music trivia show.
Yes, a historian.
So this is something that Courtney, you might have to tap into her on, or maybe, surprise me, name a movie that changed your life.
We may have to go with Courtney with this because there are a lot of movies she watched in her early formative years that made her very likely to be more open to our association with her, to housing a demon. It's funny too, because she was terrified of horror films.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, so we don't actually know how she became so bonded to us, but all of these, perhaps that made her more cautious. Perhaps that made her more able to see the truth when we did come to her, soul bared, completely true and honest.
You guys love fear. Usually, fear is the pathway. So I'm sure that she opened herself up to you, whether she knew it or not.
Our pathway with her actually was hatred.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, we tempted her with wrath first, and it worked.
Well, we all have our weaknesses.
Absolutely. She was very much into fantasy.
Oh, okay.
So not necessarily horror, but seeing it as fantasy, bringing another creature from another world.
Oh.
Yes, she was very into fantastical movies. A lot of elves and dragons and creatures like that, and yes, perhaps longing for something of the same in her world made it more open,
and a warning to young ones as well,
of course.
Again, this is probably a Courtney question. Does Courtney have an embarrassing crush, or what is her most embarrassing crush of all time?
Well, it does make it very awkward working with the Valkyrie when Courtney had such a big crush on her husband. Oh,
so one John Morrison then.
One John Morrison. and all 72 of his abs.
It's completely understandable. Okay, where can our Wild On listeners find Rosemary? Social media, OnlyFans, where can we find you?
Yes, we're very active. Unlike Father, we do find Twitter entertaining. So we are on there, as well as Instagram at We Are Rosemary. And for those of us who don't believe that we let Rush out to play every now and again, you can watch us on Twitch. Twitch.tv/rmthedemonassassin, because she uses our name because it's more prolific than hers.
Mm-hmm.
But Courtney does play games on Twitch as part of her Recess and Impact Wrestling.
Okay, last one. Finish this lyric. Fly me to the moon.
See, we find we need that musical intro, the beats that start the song to get us there. Possibly, but when someone throws a line, it's very difficult to be like, oh, what's the next one? There was a game like that for a while. We were terrible at it.
Where do you even go from here? It's very interesting talking about witchcraft and astrology and wrestling with an actual demon. I mean, before we actually got on the interview, Rosemary was telling me about her rest schedule, or what we would call sleep schedule. Homegirl goes to bed at around 5 in the morning, and then she's up around 2. She's like living her best teenage life. I hope you all are enjoying the weird, wild, witchy, I know I said weird twice, but I meant it, weird squared world that the Wild On podcast is bringing you weekly. We get Wild on Wednesdays, and we have early access to exclusive Impact Wrestling subscribers on YouTube. So if you want to get down with the Wild On content before Wednesday, you'll have full access to it on Tuesday if you are an Impact subscriber. So please don't forget to hit subscribe. Please don't forget to leave a comment. Come on. Do this for the Wild Witch, the People's Witch, if you will. We want to grow the podcast. We want to keep bringing you exciting content. And I want to know, what do my Wild Ones want to hear? Who would you like me to interview? What questions would you like me to ask them? I can't thank you guys enough, and gals and ghouls, for the support. This truly is a labor of love, and I wouldn't want to be able to do this podcast without my badass punk rock girl band, the Wild On team. Thank you, queen, right-hand woman, friend, confidant, and mentor, editor and producer, Rochelle Douris, and my marketing specialist, that beautiful doll, Madison Golshani. I love you both. And until next week, keep calm and wild on. Blessed be.